everybody. This is Jimi Bell. Welcome to Season 2. Very proud to say that. Season 2 of Beyond the Strings, right here at RHCTV Studios, otherwise known as Jimi Bell Studios. And I am thrilled to have my good buddy and Beyond Purple's bass player, really good guy, Mr. Brian Camilleri. Brian?
Thank you, Jimmy.
Great to have you.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm sorry it took this long to get you on, but you know.
I'm happy to be here. It's great to be here.
You don't mind if I don't call you Brian throughout the show? Can I just refer to you as the bass player? Because that would be...
I can get back to you on that, yes.
Yeah. Well, Brian, so our musical journey started not that many years. You and I never played in a band together. We never, throughout, for many, many years, throughout my career was really just kind of recently, back maybe, when did the Straight Shooters start?
I want to say it was maybe 2018, somewhere around there. A couple years before COVID, I think it was.
We had a good time in that band, but that was our first time playing together, and my first impression of you was, well, first off, you're incredibly nice person, and that makes it really easy to work with in many situations. But a real solid bass player. So I got so many questions about your career, when you started and everything. But first off, I want to ask you, now your dad was a musician.
My dad was a lover of the big band era. He was a sax man. He played sax and clarinet in big bands. And when I grew up, that was my influence,
That's crazy.
My dad was so into it.
That was my influence, too. Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller, all those bands. Yeah. I know that makes us, we kind of like date ourselves when we say that, because people, most people don't even know what the big band era was. But to me, that was just unbelievable music.
It really was. It absolutely was.
Did your dad play out a lot, perform?
He was in a few bands, like some of the community bands, and they played at least probably a couple times a month, I would say.
That's great.
So yeah, it was something that he wanted to do it full time. Right. But my grandfather really did not want him to be full-time. So he was a barber, and eventually he went on to real estate, but his passion was music.
All Italians are barbers.
Yeah, a lot of barbers. A lot of barbers.
We all start off as barbers.
And then when we got to be teenagers and we grew our hair out, he became a real estate person.
Really?
So, but his
we have a lot in common
always...
because my dad did that too.
Really?
Not the barber thing, but my dad did... real estate and stuff, but
yeah.
So that, I think that's interesting, because we never talked about that, about some of the similarities that we had as a child. Did you get the opportunity to go see your father perform?
I did. I went out a couple of times. I wasn't even old enough to drive, so he brought me along with him, and I just kind of sat over on the side and watched them, and I was really inspired by that,
So, did you play an instrument back then? When did you pick up the bass, or did you have other instruments you played before?
So, in the very beginning, when I was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6, I took up clarinet, because that's what my dad, he played sax and clarinet. So I took private lessons on clarinet for quite a few years, probably until I was 10 or 12.
Yeah.
And then at that age, I started listening to rock and roll music. And especially the clarinet really didn't fit into that too well.
Oh, you didn't give it a shot.
So, yeah. So, the guys on my street, a couple of good friends that grew up on the street, were guitar players, and they had an idea of starting a band. And for some reason, I was kind of interested in the bass at that point. So
that's great.
I would say I was probably maybe 12 or 13, got my first bass.
Not many people, it's sad too, because honestly, I think a lot of musicians, or a lot of young musicians, when they start, they look at, at drums or guitar, because bass players are usually, in the background, except for some of the guys that are just insane on the bass,
Right.
But that's not even my favorite kind of bass playing. Like, to me, a lot of that loses that when the bass player is going. Not someone like Billy Sheehan. He's different, But, you know, sometimes, you know, when you see mental, you know, tapping and all this other stuff. But the thing that I love about a bass player, and which is the way that my old bass player, Mark Franco, used to play, is you're playing with the drummer. You're locked in with what the drummer's doing, and you're trying to set the foundation, because the bass player is the foundation. Between the bass and the kick and the drummer, do it with a good solid kick, that's the whole foundation of a band. If one of you two guys is not in sync, the whole band falls apart. It doesn't matter how great the guitar player is, the singer, keyboard player, without the bass and drums locking in, you don't have a band. But you're a groove bass player. You fall right into that. Like matter of fact, you even look for the pocket. You know, you'll go over things with BJ just to make sure that you're doing it. You're not just winging it, you know?
That's kind of always the way I've looked at the bass, as sort of a groove instrument and locking in with the drummer.
Yeah.
Just being part of the rhythm section and just backing up the melodic players.
Well, I'm glad you went into bass, because it's great to play with you. What was your first band? Did it have a name?
So it was in high school,
Okay.
and it was called One Way.
One Way?
One Way.
Okay.
I don't know really what that meant, but we thought it was kind of cool. Because naming a band is always like the most difficult thing. It's like finding a name for a band is really tough.
We went through a lot of names for Beyond Purple before you joined. I mean, we're just trying to. Of course, that's kind of like a tribute thing, but you know, we're just trying to figure a way to make it where you knew what we were doing and everything else.
Yeah.
How long were you with that project? Was it just one of your high school things?
Yeah, it was mostly like in high school.
When did you start? What band were you in when you first started gigging out? What was your first gigging band?
So out of high school, I tried a little bit of college, but my head was really into music. So I wanted to do music for my living. And I started looking in the newspaper, because in those years they had a section for musicians wanted.
Yeah.
And I was just looking for any opportunity to play full time. So the first band was called Nickel Slick, which was a top 40 band. Actually, in the early days, it was kind of like a lounge band.
Okay.
It was singer, drums, bass, and keyboards. There was not even a guitar. And it was really on the lounge side of top 40. It was very laid back.
Oh, really?
And yep. And as the years went on, I was in that band for a lot of years. And then eventually we picked up a guitar player, and we kind of expanded the genre to include a little bit heavier stuff. So in the years when maybe Aerosmith had something on top 40 radio, or Foreigner had.
You went from lounge music into adding some rock.
Hey,
I'm quitting this unless you put rock in here.
Yeah. It kind of started out so mellow, and then eventually we were doing Allman Brothers and
but the music that you were playing in that band before you got into the rock thing, did that help you with build some chops for some different style of music? I mean, I've heard you play some cool funky things, and I didn't know if that was some of the type of music you did in that.
We really did. I mean, top 40 in those days, at least our approach to it was whatever was popular on the radio.
Okay.
So that involved a lot of R&B and some funk and dance music. So I learned just a lot of different techniques, slap technique, and a lot of the disco lines that were big in those days, you know?
I would have liked to seen you in a disco outfit, actually. I think you should, with big platforms and stuff.
I do have a picture of us in matching white suits, which will remain under wraps.
Oh, no, I'm going to find that picture. You know that. That's coming up.
But
that's very, very cool. See, I don't know a lot about your history, because like I said, we only started playing in a band, you know, a few years back, and this is all interesting to me.
Yeah.
So you went from, you started doing some rock with that. What was the next phase of your playing that you went into?
So after that kind of wound down, at that point in my life, I was beginning a career in real estate. And so music sort of took a little bit of a backseat. I wasn't
You followed your father.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. He's the one who got me started in real estate. And so I wasn't really playing out so much, doing cover band kind of stuff. But I started getting involved in some original music through some connections that I had made in the Top 40 band. Mike Mastro on drums and some other guys down from the Waterbury area. And so we were writing music and recording. And that's where I met Mark Zito. In those years, in the probably mid to late 90s, is where Mark Zito came into my life, like as being the keyboard player in this original project.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you know what? We're
Yep.
going to start right there. We're going to take a few minutes, and I'm going to do another segment of Inside the Gig Bag, and we will be right back to you. Everybody, welcome to another segment of Inside the Gig Bag. Today, I want to talk to you about a chromatic scale. What's a chromatic scale? It's very simple. It's every single note that you can play on an instrument. It's several different ways you can play this thing. Most of the people will, play it 4 notes per string. And, you could do it like that, but you could also just hit it with 3 notes with a little bit more jumping, and it's actually got a cool sound like this. It's very useful to do short little passages with it because it connects a bunch of things, and that way you don't always have to do the 3-note segment. It breaks it apart nice, or even just the 2-note segment. But to add this little bit of chromaticism into your playing is just a really cool thing. That's a particular way I like to do. If I'm going to do 4 notes per string, I try to get this accent with the upstroke. But you got to get right out of it. You can't just hang on it. Kind of an interesting thing. Let me go up to A here. That you could do with it is. So when you're doing it 3 notes per string, you have to do a whole step and then a half step between the B and G, and then whole steps the rest of the way. So one thing that I like to kind of do with it when I'm doing a little run, say that's right in this area, you could go. You could take it even a little further if you want. So yeah, a chromatic scale could be fun. I used to work at a music store a long time ago with this amazing guitar player, David Filippetti. Everybody knew him as Frock. He was a luthier, an incredible guitar player. And one time I was sitting there watching him play, and he was doing this little chromatic thing. And I just happened to say to him, "Go chromatic, you can't miss." And he laughed so hard because it's really true. As long as you're doing a chromatic scale, eventually you're going to land on the note you want to play. So that's it for this segment of Inside the Gig Bag. Thanks for watching. Welcome back. So we left off and we were just about to talk to our dear departed good buddy, Mark Zito. So
Yep.
what was your what was your first band back with him?
So that band, what did we call that band? Hard Rain.
I think
Hard Rain.
I don't know why, I saw a picture of that band, I think.
At Mark's service, there was some pictures of us from that band, and Pat Carabino was on guitar. Wynton sang in that band for a while. Wynton Fenderson.
He did.
Sang there, yeah. And Mike Mastro on drums.
So what were you doing in that? That's
Well, Mark and the guitar player were writing a lot of music.
Really?
A lot of power ballads and some of that big 80s kind of sound.
so this was the 80s we're talking.
No, it was the 90s, but a lot of the style that he wrote was
Did you play in it?
sort of like Journey, that kind of.
What were you doing in the 80s?
80s, it was top 40. Just
Oh, it was.
playing anything from the rock stuff that made it onto commercial radio and the dance stuff that was on radio.
Well,
I
good
mean,
thing-
we played such a wide variety. Anything from, Kool and the Gang to the Allman Brothers. It
Kool
was
and the
very
Gang.
much wide ranging. So I enjoyed that variety,
Yeah. I love Earth, Wind, and Fire, Kool and the Gang, Tower of Power. All
Yeah.
those, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
we
that's-
covered those bands,
Yeah, that stuff is just amazing.
And it's challenging to play that many different styles, but it's a
Well,
great challenge.
Just to jump for a second, the original song that you just played bass on has almost got like the "What Is Hip,"
Yeah.
that moving thing,
Break the bottle.
Yeah, so it's got
Yeah.
that.
Kind of like Pound Cake or
Yeah,
What Is
it's got
Hip.
that moving, like where you got to
Yeah.
keep your fingers going. But that's,
Yeah.
"What Is Hip" does that, right? Just
Yeah.
going, like,
BJ came up with that idea, which I thought was fantastic.
yeah.
So
I don't know what I played on the demo. I'd have to listen to it because I just put bass on it just so
yeah,
I could hear what bass sounds like.
right,
You know.
right.
So, anyways, let's talk about Mark Zito a bit on how you guys were writing some music, and what was it like working with Mark in the early days?
He was fantastic to work with.
Was he?
Oh my God, he was kind of like the musical director. I mean, he would help the vocalist with phrasing and melody and writing harmonies. I mean, he had a great ear for harmonies.
Really?
He gave me at times, he gave me some ideas to do stuff on the bass. So he was kind of the creative director in that band.
That's amazing.
He was incredibly talented. We produced dozens of songs. There was a CD that they released. We recorded down in New London at the power station. Or
Oh,
Waterford, I think it's
yeah,
Waterford.
I remember yeah.
Yeah, we went down there and cut maybe 10 or 12 songs.
Whatever happened to all that stuff?
I think they shopped it around a little bit, but yeah, I don't think it ever really went anywhere.
Music business.
But I was really proud of the music that we put out, and Mark's fingerprints were all over those arrangements and melodies, and he was a big
So
part of that.
did you do any other bands with Mark after?
No, we really did not cross paths until he was in Beyond Purple.
Really?
Yeah. and-
What did you do up to Straight Shooter? That's what I want, because, were you not playing out much at all and just concentrating on between the real estate and the appraising and everything?
So in the early 2000s, I kind of had the itch to get back into performing out, live performance. So I joined a band that was based down in Fairfield County, in Newtown. A female singer, was called Dark Barbie.
Okay.
Dark Barbie. It was female fronted. And it was, we played a lot of covers in the bars down in Fairfield, and some of them in Westchester, New York County. So
Good circuit.
Yeah, it was a cool circuit. I mean, it was kind of a haul to get down there.
Yeah.
But they had some cool venues that we played. And I was in that band for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. And then after that, I started a band locally with Dave Buddha.
Love Dylan.
On guitar.
He's so good on guitar.
Great guy, still really close friends with him.
Yeah, that guy's just amazing on guitar. He really is.
He really is. He's
so
talented.
quiet. Like I used to
know.
see, like when I was playing out, I can't even tell you, before I even really knew him, or I used to see this guy watching me out in the audience, like
Yeah.
wherever I played, like whether it was the old All-Stars in Manchester or something, I would see this guy just standing by himself, real, just like looking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was just a fan. I didn't know he was a guitar player. If I knew he was a guitar player, I wouldn't even played in front of him. No,
He loves to watch other players and just absorb
he
as much
soaks
as he
it
can.
in, man. That's what he is. But
He does.
and he's so quiet and so nice. But it's like when I watch him do something, like every once in a while, when he posts a video, I'll go, oh my God,
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
does things that I don't do. I mean, he loves the stuff I do because it's, he's like, Dave Buddha's like a fine wine, and I'm like a bottle of Jack Daniels. That's how I could describe it. I'm like a train wreck of Jack Daniels, and Dave Buddha's like a fine wine. That's how he plays.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just it's great, man. So how long did you play out
So I
with Dave?
worked with Dave in a band called 2012 that we had started in about 2010.
Okay.
And in searching for a name, if you remember, there was this thing about, actually it was something about the number 2012. Someone had come up with the idea of that. I'm not actually,
Yeah.
there was something
I
about it. I
remember
don't exactly
some
remember, but
significance of it.
we
yeah.
called it the 2012 band. It had a female singer, and we did Heart and Joan Jett and some of the female vocalists that were out on the charts then. Kelly Clarkson and
Who was your singer?
Michelle Branch. Her name is Deb Walter,
Yeah.
and she was a great singer, great lady. So we did that band for quite a few years together. I'd say 5 or 6 or 7 years together. We played local Connecticut scene for quite a while.
I worked. It's so funny. I worked with one band. I was always looking to try and make. I did everything. Like one time, I guess it was late '70s. I got an offer to play in some band called the Shoppers, and it was originally it was called the Smart Shoppers. And I went up there, and it was a cover band, but we were playing everywhere. The Rutland, Vermont, Manchester. I lived in this like ski chalet type thing with the band guys, and it was really nice. And we did the whole. That's when there were tons of places: Montreal, upstate New York, Vermont. And back then, we used to go up to say like Burlington, Vermont, and play one club for the whole week. They would hire you from Tuesday through
Yeah.
Sunday. You'd
Yeah.
stay at the same place the whole week.
Yeah.
And there was so many places to play back then like that. But the band, and this is the only time that I've really ever did this, the band had a female singer, but it also had a guy singer. So what happened was the guy and the girl went out together. They were a couple.
Oh, okay.
So, everything was fine. Like, we would do Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, and then that whole Phil Rizzu,
Yeah.
scene, they'd start making out. We'd put
Oh,
we'd have that,
really?
it'd be a whole thing.
Oh, man.
But then they broke up, and then they had to still perform together.
Oh,
So
boy.
you can only imagine the tension of two people that don't
Yeah.
want to be with each other,
Yeah.
and working in that type of thing. So
Yeah.
that was my one and only time. Not that I wouldn't work with a female vocalist again. I think female vocalists are incredible.
Well, I think one of the cool things about a female front is they can cover obviously female vocals, but a lot of them can do great work with male vocals.
Yeah.
Because on the other hand, most guys don't want to sing girl songs. So it kind of really opens up the,
and
the
girls
possibilities.
a lot of the girl singers out there got the courage to go out there and belt out, some guy. I mean, look at Lizzie Hale. She stepped right into Skid Row, and just
did a great job.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But let's talk about when you and I got together now. So we decided to put together this Bad Company band. And this is really cool because that band Straight Shooter was all new. I mean, I've worked with BJ all my life, and for a good part of my life, let's say, in several bands. So that's why I try to include. Anytime something comes up, I say, "Hey, you want to do that?" And vice versa. He does it, same for me. And we started talking about the Bad Company thing. Now, I grew up in the same town as Gary Fox. Gary Fox from Wethersfield, but we've never played in a band together. He was in physical for many, many years. So the opportunity for him and I to ever play together just never happened. In Winton, we had talked years ago with Mark Zito about doing a Whitesnake tribute. I actually went to Mark's house. And they brought me down and with Winton, and I think Mastro was the drummer.
Really?
I think he was. And we talked about the possibilities of doing that. So with Winton getting into that, and then you coming in, it was really cool because here's three people that I've never got to work with yet.
Right.
And that band was just something, really, really cool. I mean, I really enjoy. First off, I love Bad Company. It's not, and it's nice. It's easy, but it's just killer rock stuff. They wrote really good, just rock songs, and I had a real blast playing with that. But when the opportunity here for when Beyond Purple got together. Mark Zito's another one that I never worked with in my life. So, we met. It was one of these things. We did some stuff with a band, Perfect Storm, with Livio, and we got together for a couple things. And Stet played drums, and but it wasn't a band thing. So Mark Zito came in, and we started putting this thing together, and it just worked out. Really, really well, what we were doing, the concept of it. And then Jan ended up, we had to get, drummer changes and stuff because BJ got busy with docking and stuff. So we're trying to find some decent subs and everything. So, but it ended up being really a fortunate situation that you were able to come in when Jan left. And Mark had brought you in.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I don't know if you know, but Mark never even really discussed it with us. He just kind of he just kind of said, "I got Brian. Brian's going to play bass." Not that was a bad thing because it worked out great, but it was just Mark knew that he wanted to have you in the band. He was obviously he was comfortable playing with you after all these years.
Well, it's funny because at the time I had involvement in a lot of different bands. I was playing in 3 or 4 bands at the time.
Yeah, you were
playing many shows a year.
Yeah, so you did. Tell me about. Let's see, you've done Vinyl Revolution, right?
Yeah. So after 2012 broke up, we started Vinyl Revolution. Winton and myself, and there was some spin-offs from that band. Excuse me. I was doing. We were doing some acoustic solo work, Winton and I together. It was called 70s FM.
Yep.
And I was in a band called Night Shift.
Night Shift.
So when Mark called, he was really more assuming that I was just too busy to not be available. But he was calling me to say, "Do you know any bass players that would be available to work in Beyond Purple?" And I said, "Well, hold on.
I know.
The chance to work with you guys is something that I couldn't pass up. I said, I will make room in my schedule to be the guy."
Yeah, that's
So that's how that kind of came out.
and you were able
know?
to you kept a lot of the bands going. That's the thing too that I really appreciate. You kept you kept your other bands going. We even told you not to quit anything because Beyond Purple doesn't work all the time. I mean,
Right.
we want to work all the time, but it's just it's a select
Right.
type thing.
Right.
Plus, we've gone up in value, so it's better to take those shows.
Right. Totally.
And but I know you gave up a few of your bands just to make us your top priority, which showed that you really love being in the band. You came in, and man, you fit right in. You fell right into the pocket. Good, even after it took a little bit just to get get everything gelling, and then it just all of a sudden everything just like.
It came
right
together pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is because Mark and I had chemistry from previously working together. And then you and I and BJ had worked in Straight Shooter together.
Right.
So other than I had never worked with Mike before, but the rest of the four of us had, chemistry from working together in prior bands. So I think that had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, it did.
And then, just meeting Mike and having the chance to work with him. I mean, what a fantastic singer and a super nice person, and
Yeah,
he's
Mike,
just a pleasure to work with.
Mike is
He's awesome.
he's
really
quite
awesome.
amazing. I mean, his vocal range and
Yeah.
his abilities that he has,
Yeah.
and it's crazy because I've done all these original between Autograph and House of Lords, and we always had Max Explosion. I've done original music all of my life, and to me, years back when I first, even back in the day, Joey Forces, when I was in that band, which was a really big band, was all original music. We didn't do any cover songs, and as things went on. And then nothing happened, and then I ended up having to join a cover band again after all those years of being an original band. You're gonna laugh at this. I thought like my life was over. I said,
Really?
Yeah, I said, this is it. I said, I'm done. I said, not that I was done with playing, but I in my mind I was going like, if I'm not playing in a band that's writing music and working towards something, and I'm just sitting here playing covers, it just didn't make sense. Not with what I had, what my abilities were, and what my heart felt. In my heart, all I wanted to do was just be music.
It's such a totally different endeavor, an original band versus a cover band.
Yeah.
It's just a totally different thing.
Some people, I've worked with, some musicians that don't have it for original music. It's just not, there's not something that they're definitely just more comfortable in the cover band thing, which is great because you're working, you're making money, you're still out there performing with a lot in front of people, and that's really what it's all about. To just your love for the music, whether you're doing original music or cover music. But
yeah, it's almost like an original band requires a different kind of chemistry to click.
well, and that's the thing.
It's
See,
just a totally different kind of chemistry that you need to create.
so that's what makes what we're doing kind of interesting, because honestly, so we have, like I said, BJ and I have worked in original, since 1999, BJ and I have been touring the world all over with original music, whether it was the first band or first record we did was Thunderhead,
Yep.
and we went to Germany with that, and then House of Lords thing happened, I got BJ into that, and then that band just went, everywhere, Countless Records, and then, then he actually ended up playing with Dokken for a short period, not what he's doing right now, but he went for a little bit, and then we also did Max Express. So I mean, him and I just did all these original things, So, but he's like, he's like me. We're at the point that we just love to play. Okay, so as long as we're out playing and, we're surviving, doing what we love, then we're happy, because unlike you, you've had regular job, you've done regular work and everything. BJ and I aren't like that. We talked about that on our show.
Yeah.
We dedicate our entire life to just music, so we have to do everything music.
Right.
In order, everything and anything that's music to survive. But
so that means lessons and
It means-
running a music store.
anything.
All
to
that,
do, yeah.
right.
Well, the lesson thing definitely, and trying my hand at a music store, and even anytime you get to record on somebody's record, doing tracks for somebody,
Yep.
anything that you could survive and
Yep.
stay in the music business. But so now that we all have all these other things, here comes Beyond Purple, and I was just really surprised. I just, seeing that we were always a tribute, nothing but a tribute band, doing the music that we love, because we love doing that stuff. I decided to, I have catalogs of original music on my computer. I mean, countless, there are all kinds of different artists. Yeah, maybe a female country singer,
Right.
so many different tracks.
Right.
So I decided to, send something to Mike, just out of clear blue, and he came back with something amazing.
His work on those tracks is really amazing.
And I got to tell you it. Now, keep in mind, Mike honestly had not been in an original band before. He started doing it with Greg, which was sort of his, jump into that. But he came back with some amazing work on and it's so crazy that I sent him one song, and then he did this amazing job. And then, I started just sending him stuff, and he's coming back with me with all these tracks like really fast. And he's he's able to write on the stuff that I send him. It's more in his, radar.
It's amazing the chemistry you guys have, because he's writing melody and lyrics, and it fits so well with the music that you're coming up with.
So and it works, and that's where the team of, BJ and I come in, because BJ has always, BJ's a great writer himself, but he's always been like a cool arranger of something. So in other words, if I give him a song, if we're doing something, like you saw, he said, we were playing, Break the Bottle, and he said, look, don't go back to that, go right up to the
Right.
solo section, get rid of this
Right.
section right here.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are things that I would never think of, because when I write a song, there's always, intro,
Yeah.
verse, bridge, chorus, repeat,
Yeah.
solo,
Yeah.
I always have a certain pattern.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't need the certain pattern, but, I need a second set of ears on that to tell me I don't need to do the pattern.
Yeah, he thinks like a producer almost.
He is a
He has a
producer.
lot of great ideas, and even
He's-
just like that bass
He
thing
did,
on Break the Bottle.
believe it or not, he's done more work on the House of Lords songs than a lot of people know.
Really?
Yeah, as far as getting drum tones and everything. We always ended up, James did a real lot of the production himself, but we'd always have another producer come in. But BJ definitely does a lot to a track before it gets sent down to them, which is, so he's really got his craft going now with that,
Yeah.
which is great for us, because now we got like, we're coming, Mike's got like 9 or 10 songs done, and he sends them all to me, and these last few that we have done have been just absolutely crazy good.
I'm so impressed with them. I mean, when I hear the tracks, I get so inspired to just try to, contribute some bass tracks to it. It's been a fantastic experience.
So I'm glad you're in it. I'm glad you're digging it because it's, that was one thing I was getting at is that it's pretty crazy that Beyond Purple can shift right into an all original band very gracefully, because that doesn't really happen too often. Like a lot of times, bands that are cover bands have a hard time making the transition if they're going into doing original music. But I think a lot has to do with the years of I'm not saying it's me and BJ, but I'm just saying the years of doing all original music like BJ and I have done just helps make it go that much faster.
Yeah, you guys bring a lot of experience to the project, and yeah, like I said, with Mike, coming up with lyrics and melodies, I'm really excited to see how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, it's going good.
It's been an awesome experience so far. I'm really looking forward to more progress.
So before we head out, I just want to know, how do you like playing in Beyond Purple? I got to tell you something funny, and this is we go down to Pennsylvania, 5-6 hour
Yeah.
drives,
Yeah.
and you have a gift for being able to talk all the way down. Not a bad thing, because it helps keep you going, and we're grateful, beyond grateful that you drive doing that. But it's you like to talk, you're curious about everything, you like to get information. But how's it been so far playing with Beyond Purple area?
It's been fantastic. I mean, you guys are just great people and amazing musicians, and the opportunity to get out and play the venues that we play, theaters and festivals, it's been fantastic. And to go out on the road is a great experience that I've never done.
Yeah,
Never
that's
had
the
that
thing,
before.
because you say that a lot when we're going, when we're driving through, you always get so excited. You go, I've never done anything like this before.
No.
And it's funny because that's.
And the stories you guys tell, I mean, you talk about me talking through these long trips, but you and BJ have these stories from the road that are incredible.
Oh, so much.
There's just like so much, just funny stories and amazing experiences.
Yeah, I think that we've had.
Just traveling where you have.
We've had amazing moments together. Things that are just so. Yeah, things that are so stupid that it's funny. Things that have happened, especially over in Europe.
Yeah.
Because when you're in Europe, you're stuck there. It's not like you go,
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I want to go home and sleep in my bed. Once you're in Europe, you're in Europe.
Right. Yeah.
You're done.
But getting out on the road, it's great. I mean, you bond as friends, as well as bandmates. But you're eating your meals together. You're traveling in the cars together.
Yeah, that's a blast. We make a reservation at a restaurant, all go together.
It's a fantastic experience. It's been really. I feel very blessed.
Well,
to be working in the band.
I got to tell you, it's an honor to have you in a band.
Yeah,
we love you, man. And I want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. And I'm sorry once again it took so long.
It's been a real pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. This ends the first show of season 2. Thank you so much for watching. And this is Jimi Bell saying goodbye from RHCTV Studios right here at Beyond the Strings.